Okay, what I want to talk about right now is kind of like a little, I would call it a public service announcement or just a piece of advice, is how many of you have ever changed the tire on your car? From a spare to you have a flat and you put the spare on. How many of you actually ever done that? If you've never done it, you might want to go do it in your driveway. And I mean use all the stuff that comes with your car. Don't pull out the floor jack that you may have in your garage or that your dad or your uncle or somebody has at their house. I mean use the stuff that comes with your car that's tucked away in a little cubby in the trunk, under the seat, wherever it may be kept, and change a tire on your car or your truck or whatever it is you have. Change a front tire, change a rear tire, because it can be a slightly different, you know, angles and maybe pose different problems, but you definitely need to practice it. Last week I had a blowout on the freeway. Luckily it was a rear tire, so I was able to keep control of my vehicle fairly easily. And I called my boss and said, hey, I might be late. I had a blowout in the freeway. Just let him know. He says, okay. I got all my stuff set up. Changed the tire. Granted, I have a 2005 Jeep. Really easy to change the tire on this. And I was on the road again in 20 minutes, and I made it to work with 5 minutes to spare. Wasn't even late. The reason I did it fairly quickly, and I really wasn't moving fast, was that I rotate the tires on my Jeep myself, and I have done it a few times just using the jack and stuff that comes with the Jeep. Now I have a floor jack and some stands that I do use, but I've done it a few times just using the stuff that comes with the Jeep. And that's something that, you know, you might want to practice. Now I know there's people out there go, well, my insurance, I could just call and they'll come out and change the tire for me and all that nonsense. Okay, I get that, but there's probably a lot of people out there who have those really bare bones insurance policies where they don't have that, and you call a tow truck, it's gonna cost you $150, $200 when they come out there and change your tire, and then you got to sit there and wait for them. You're on their schedule. But if you know how to do it yourself and you're comfortable with doing it yourself, do it yourself. Even if you put that little donut tire on there that has a limited range and speed you're supposed to drive, at least that'll get you to a place where you can get a new tire repaired and all on your own. You did it yourself, self-sufficient, not waiting or relying on somebody else to do that simple task. But what it comes down to is you need to practice doing it at least once or twice. And if you've never taken the wheels off your vehicle, they've never been nowhere and they're straight out of the factory, I suggest you go through and crack all the lug nuts off. Well, not all the way, but crack them loose and snug them back up with whatever wrench that came with your vehicle. Because I'll tell you one thing, I had a vehicle one time, an Explorer, back in the late 90s, that I literally had to jump up and down on my lug nut wrench to crack the lug nuts off of my front tires. They were on there that tight. They were over tight. You know, that's something you might want to think about doing, because having the ability and the skill and the knowledge to just change your own tire could save you so much hassle. It could be the difference between you getting a flat, changing a tire, being back on the road 30 minutes and making it to wherever you're going, as opposed to being stuck out on some country road somewhere in the middle of nowhere waiting for a tow truck to show up, and who knows what's going to roll by before that tow truck gets there. And some of them you need to practice, because some of them, it may seem like an easy task, but I've seen vehicles where the scissor jack or the bottle jack that they come with have these weird faces on them. We're like, wait a minute, where does this go? And there's a lot of vehicles these days have very specific locations that you need to put those jacks to lift the vehicle, or you could do damage to your vehicle, you could do damage to the jack, or worst case scenario, you lift it, it's unstable, and it comes down on top of you while you're screwing around trying to get the tire on and off. They go in very specific locations, and trust me, you don't want to be on the side of the road when it's dark, you know, trying to pull out your manual, trying to figure out where to put this jack stand at. You need to be able to do it because you've done it already. It becomes somewhat of a muscle memory thing. And if you never have to do it, fine, but you got to be prepared to do something that is out of the norm. And changing the tire in your own vehicle is definitely something that is really not out of the norm. And this goes for everybody, teenagers, everybody needs to learn how to change their tires, or at least know where everything goes and how it works to lift your vehicle with the jack that comes with it, and get your tire off and change it. Put a spare on there, put the full-size spare if you're lucky, or the little donut tires. That is a very simple task that I think a lot of people probably really don't even give a second thought to until they're like, oh man, how am I gonna fix this? And they're clueless, and they don't even realize that they have all the tools and equipment in their vehicle to do it safely. You just need to practice it. And my advice to people that haven't done it is to go out and practice it. And I don't mean just practice on one wheel. I mean go all four corners. All four corners. Take a wheel off all the way, put it all the way back on. Raising and lowering the vehicle. Do it on all four corners. Know what it's like, because on cars, you don't have a lot of space underneath a lot of these cars. And then these cars that are front wheel drive, the front is probably going to be harder to do than the rear because of the way the cars are set up. And they're so low, you don't have a whole lot of space to stick your head underneath there and look what's going on. You may have to do it mostly by feel or at the very narrow field of view. Like my Jeep is really easy to do. It's got a mild lift kit on it. It's got 3 inches, and it doesn't have big tires on it, none. But I can crawl underneath my vehicle without even being up on a jack. And I have plenty of room to crawl around, look under there, and see everything that's going on underneath the vehicle. But I have changed my own tires that I rotate them myself. Practice that skill. It can save you money and a lot of headache in the future. And it could even save you from being stuck in an unsafe situation. It is something that this should probably be a required skill. How you would test out for license, I don't know if they can require that, but I think it should be. And I know for when I got my very first license when I was in the military, part of my licensing test on that was to change the wheels on the vehicle that I was being trained to drive. And I remember the first time I did it on a 2.5 ton truck, I was like, this is a hassle. But then the first time I had to do it out in the field in some dirt road, I was like, man, I'm glad I've done this before, because now I'm comfortable with it. I have a feeling what's going on, and I'm not totally lost in the sauce, you know, beating my head against the wall trying to figure it out on the fly, because I had practiced it, and I've done it with my Jeep. So my suggestion to people is, first chance you get your vehicle out in the driveway or out in front of the street, pull all four corners off, put them all back on with only using the tools that are provided by you by the manufacturer of that vehicle, because you have everything you need in your vehicle. And if you don't have it, you need to get it and replace it. That is my advice to all of you who have never done it. Whether you go out and do it or not is on you. But I felt after my experience with that blowout in the freeway and me changing my tire, to figure I'd make a short video about that to give my opinion on that, and take it for what it is. If you think it's not worth it, that's on you. If you go out and decide, yeah, it's a good idea, more power to you. So that'll make you feel a lot better next time you go out on those road trips, wherever you want to go. You'll just have that much more confidence knowing that if you need to, you can change the tire of your own vehicle. I am the Maddminister, and that's my opinion.